The next and last part of the build before we move on to assembly is actually finishing this handle. So we're going to add a little bit onto the crank coming out here, which will then attach to the handle to allow us to spin it and move the crank, and hence the pistons and everything should be going up and down. And this has been designed so far to exaggerate everything, to show how we can make developments within a portfolio kind of context, as well as learning OnShape at the same time. So on this circle here, we're going to create a sketch, and on that sketch we're just going to draw a square in the centre of the circle here. So we're going to dimension that up. If I look at it from the front, it makes it a little bit easier. So if I zoom in, distance from edge to edge is what we're interested in, and we're just going to make it 4, and we're going to do that from every single edge, and it'll make the square in the centre of the circle and a nice easy size for us to replicate later on. Okay. So if we're measuring that now, it is exactly 7 millimeters square. So our handle will have a hole that matches this part further down the line. So tick that, and we're going to extrude that, just that square. So we just rotate round, and we only need that to be 10 millimeters. It doesn't need to be sticking out too far. It just gives us a square for the handle to push onto when we come to assembly and to marry up with. Making sure it's added, and it's added to the crank part there. So part 2, which if we hover over, shows you which part it's actually associated with, which is the crank. And we'll just check that again here. It's all associated as the same thing, which is exactly what we want. So you can see as well on here that it's the same colour, which tells us we've done it right. The next part now then is we're going to sketch again. If we select this surface, we'll create a sketch on there, look at it from the front, we're going to start to create the handle. So this is going to need to be a new part, and we're going to start by drawing a circle, and then we're going to draw a square as well, which matches up with that one. If we dimension the circle, that's going to be 15 millimeters. This is going to make it really easy to start off with. Okay, so if we finish that sketch there and we extrude, selecting sketch 18 from the features list so we just get the bits that we want, make it marry up with that last extrude that we did at 10, and make sure it's a new part, we can then click tick, and it's a different colour. You can see it's a different colour. We can go into edit appearance of part 5, and let's make it really obvious, so it makes it easier moving forward. Okay, the next part is we're going to extend the circle of this out now. So we're going to click on this surface, sketch, and we're going to draw a circle on the end there. With that, we're going to make that 15. We're going to tick, extrude, select sketch 19 so we get the whole circle, and then we're just going to make that another 10 millimeters, say. Okay. And we don't want new this time, we want it to be added to part 5. So you have to click add, and then you have to tell it what the merge scope is, which is part 5. Click tick, and you can see now that it looks like we've just got a solid bar over the top. But if we hid the casing and we hid the crank, you'd be able to see that it's got a hole in there which marries up nicely. And you could turn on wireframe as well, so the hidden edge is visible to see that. So that's the start of our handle. We just need a part coming up and a part coming out to actually turn. So let's sketch on this surface now. Sketch. I'm going to draw my rectangle with some rounded corners. I might not even round the corners for this one and make it nice and simple. Let's add some dimensions to it so it's in the centre. Nice round numbers, bit easier to remember. Make that 25 and 50. And then we're going to measure the distance from this edge. Can be 10, and oh, that's way too big, isn't it? Let's make that 5. And then this distance should match up at 5 as well. Excellent. And the bottom here, let's marry it all up the same. So make that 5. Happy days. Click tick, extrude, select sketch 20 from the features list. Often I use a features list. Sometimes it is better to actually click it on your design itself. We're just going to make that 5 millimeters and click tick, and it's adding to part 5, which is exactly what we want. Last bit then, we're just going to draw the handle off this surface. So let's create a sketch, circle, draw it on here, dimension, make it similar to the bottom because that's just going to make it look a little bit neater for me. 5, 5, and 5 from the top as well. And then the diameter of that is set at 15. Okay, we can finish that as a tick, extrude, and that handle can come out. We'll make that 40 millimeters. Click tick, add a little chamfer to the end to make it look a little bit neater. and then you could even round those corners around here just to add a bit of design to it as well, so it's not looking too naff. So let's make them 10, maybe even a little bit further. If we go 12.5 and make it a full semicircle, it does look quite a bit nicer. So you can see that now we've got our handle to turn the cranks, which are attached to the piston heads, which should hopefully go up and down. We can assemble that in the next tutorial and see where we go from there. Good luck.